Welcome to Otherworld. I'm your host, Jack Wagner. Today's episode is the first part of a two-part series, and these episodes revolve around one of America's most prominent paranormal beliefs, Bigfoot. But I think you'll find that these stories are not like your typical Bigfoot encounter. In fact, our storyteller had no idea what happened to him until he got home and started researching. Usually, when we talk about Bigfoot, or the Yeti, or Sasquatch, the belief is that it's an elusive primate hiding in the woods. And honestly, I've always said that this belief is hardly even paranormal. I mean, we discover new species all the time and are constantly learning more about our world. In fact, before the gorilla was officially discovered in 1847, most people didn't believe it was real. We have accounts of gorillas dating back to 470 BC. For over 2,000 years, most of the world thought that the gorilla was just folklore. In 1847, so that means we had electricity before people believed that gorillas were real. That's worth keeping in mind as you consider some of the topics we discuss in this podcast. But anyway, with this story and some others like it, things seem to point towards Bigfoot maybe not being something of this world at all. And of course, perhaps this actually has nothing to do with Bigfoot. Either way, something very strange happened to this guy in the woods. This is a long story, so I'm keeping it brief, but I'll just say that this is truly one of the strangest things I've heard. And I want to mention that I recently began having each guest sign a document that says that they're telling the truth and not being deceptive in any way. I would never put out an episode from a person that I didn't believe, and I go to good lengths to vet these stories. But I thought it'd be worth mentioning that before starting the story because I even had a hard time wrapping my head around this one. This is episode 33, the Uhwarries Part 1, and you're listening to Otherworld.
Hello?
Bobby?
Yes, it is.
You still rolling? Yeah, let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
That's a feel for ask some questions. You tell me Samoa in the Pacific Island are creepy, superstitious.
This is a story about
My name's Alex. Yeah, so I was born in Columbia, South Carolina. I lived in the South most of my life. I went to a private school for the majority of my elementary, middle school, and high school career. Around like age 17, my dad got a job at UNC, so we moved up to Chapel Hill. After graduating high school, I moved to Seattle and went to school there for a couple years. Did not graduate. It's around like 2019 that I moved back to North Carolina. And around that time, I started working in food service because that was really the only thing that was available for me. And around that time, I started bartending. And then COVID happened. So that is basically it for the majority of that period of my life. After leaving college, moving back to North Carolina, I lived a mostly uninteresting existence for a long period of time. Food service sucks, by the way. I don't know if you've ever worked in whatever it is. Like bartending is like the highest you can go with that, which luckily I was able to achieve in a short period of time because I'm competent, I'd like to think. And I was kind of attracted to that line of work because it was not necessarily like an old-timey style job, but like, I don't know, like I'm trying to attach like actual meaning to why I chose bartending rather than like I just kind of fucking fell into it. There's no real other explanation rather than that, but it's kind of like a cowboy job almost, you know? Yeah, so through bartending, I met Julian. We became quick friends. We were both interested in the same kinds of things, just like art and writing and creative work and other shit like that. Yeah, we started living together for a couple years. And around when COVID happened, I effectively lost my job immediately. And he and I were sharing the same house together for I mean, we still live together, but the entirety of quarantine was fucking rough because it's like, I don't know how like how much you enjoy being around a person or how good of friends you are, but if you have to share the same space with somebody for 6 months, it's fucking rough. But it was around this time where like I couldn't fucking take it anymore, like staying inside, that I decided like, okay, I just need to go camping. And I don't know how exactly I arrived at that. Like I'm not an avid camper. I don't really spend a whole lot of time outside like I used to when I was a kid. And it might have had something to do with that, like this return to some kind of experience that I had when I was a kid for like some sort of comfort reason. I don't really know. But I wanted to add like a little bit of, maybe not danger to it, but just something like, I didn't want it to be like a regular camping trip. So I decided I'm gonna go out into like a wilderness area with like no food, no shelter, and I'm just gonna fucking see how long I can survive out there, which is in hindsight very stupid. Don't do that. But again, at the time, this was a desperation. So. I decided on Uwharrie National Forest, mostly because it's the closest wilderness area to me. So I live in Durham. Uwharrie is about 2 hours west of me, or southwest. And from doing the middling amount of research that I did, I found out that they train special forces out there. So of course I'm like, oh hell yeah, that's where I'm gonna go. Because obviously I'm not of that level, but at the time I was like, all right, this seems like a good enough metric for me for whatever reason. I don't know. I was attracted to something that was outside of the realm of this fucking mundane hellscape that I was existing in. I planned for about a day. Like I gathered my supplies. Again, I have done no research other than like skimming the Wikipedia page. I find out like Uhwarrie Mountains are some of the oldest mountains in North America. Indigenous people have lived in that area for tens of thousands of years. It's like, this is pretty sick. They're like burial mounds all over the place. Also very cool. And it was on the morning of August the 17th, 2020, that I just get my shit and I start driving. It takes me about 2 hours. I arrive to a campsite, or a campground rather, that I just saw off the side of the road. You know, again, like my plan was to just park off the side of the road and like just walk into the woods and set up my tent there, or my shelter, and just go from there. But I found a campground that was completely isolated, completely like no one was there too. Like I drove around the entire perimeter, like there was not a single person there, not a single car. And I enter, I get in, no one's there. And as soon as I step out of my car and get my stuff, I noticed it's like, I'm trying to think of the words to describe this. It's beyond deathly quiet. Like the quiet is so quiet that it's making my ears ring. That was the first thing that I noticed. It's like, okay, what like what is this place? Like this is so strange. And again, thinking back at the time, it's like, why did I continue? Why did I not just go back home? And I remember there's this persistence in my mind, like I have to complete this task. Like I've just been sitting on my ass for 6 months. Like just please do something. Like please, like complete something. Like even if it's just this camping trip, like you got to do this. I remember thinking that. And so I get my stuff. It's just a backpack. And I started like hiking down the trail, and I decide like I'm just gonna like go down the main trail and then like go off to the side for 20 minutes or 10 minutes and just like set up my shit there. And as I'm walking down the trail, it's like this quiet has not abated at all. It's persisted this entire time. Like not like there's no wind, there are no birds, there are no insects. It's deafening. The only sound that I can remember are like my own footsteps. Okay. As I continue down the trail, like this sort of weird feeling starts to come over me. Like I remember thinking like, am I being watched by something? You know, like that. I don't think that's a very uncommon sensation to have. Like I've definitely experienced that before. Like I think it's called like scopesthesia, like the feeling of being stared at. So I'm thinking like, all right, maybe I'm feeling this because I'm just not used to being out in the woods for this, you know, these types of woods too, because the Uhwarries are like they were clear cut at one point, like a long time ago, but it's not necessarily new growth forest, but it's hard to describe. It's like very spindly, creepy, like brush and like pine trees and other types of things, like a lot of holly trees as well, and a lot of like big boulders and like quartz deposits too, which is interesting. The Uhwarries were also the site of like the first American gold rush in the 1700s as well, which is pretty cool. So there are a lot of like abandoned mines, abandoned caves. So anyway, there's just this persistent quiet and the sensation of being stared at from somebody, and it's like I kind of rationalized it at the time as just this kind of natural paranoia that one might get from just being out in the woods by themselves. Again, because I hadn't been out there in a long time, like I hadn't been camping since I was probably 13. And again, I just have this compelling drive to just complete this one thing that you said that you're going to do. Like you said you're going to go camping. Don't not do it, please. Like, and eventually I reached this clearing. It's across the stream, across this bridge. And I figured like, all right, this is a good enough spot for any, you know, I'm not going to waste my time looking for like the perfect spot to set up my stuff and like waste the daylight. So I end up constructing this A-frame shelter, which is just like a tarp over a string strung between two trees. That's very primitive, like very basic. You can imagine it as just like a triangular prism shape that's as long as I am. Like the tarp was 6 feet long. So there's no room for me to like move around, and it's literally just like a big sleeping bag, basically, if that makes sense. But it's like up in the air a little bit. So I finished that. It's around this time that the sensation of being stared at becomes more powerful. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, there's this eerie quiet. I'm very aware of something staring at me, okay? Like it's to a point where I'm getting freaked out a little bit because it's so acute, you know? Like I don't know how to quite describe it with words necessarily, but it's beyond the standard like someone looking at you. It's like it's almost as if I knew someone was staring at me. Like the intuition part of my brain was on fire, basically. So I don't know if that translates or makes sense to anybody, but there's definitely something going on, is what I'm trying to say. So at this point, it's hard to tell how time is passing, which I know that might be frustrating for some people. But again, it's like this is how I experienced it, truly. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but like time began to move in a way where I'm like, what time is it? I got here at like 2:00, and it feels like, you know, I left my phone off in my bag, so I didn't look at it ever on this trip. So as I'm lying there, I noticed that there's this bizarre electric shock sensation going up and down my spine. It's truly strange because I've never really felt anything like that. It wasn't static electricity. It was more of just like a steady pulsing, I guess. I don't know how to... Again, this is the trouble with describing these types of experiences, is that like language doesn't really have the words to fully interpret what's going on here. But the closest thing I can get to is that there was some kind of electric current going through my body, and that's about it. I'm lying in my tent, and I start to have like these weird impressions enter my stream of consciousness, okay? Now, when I say that, I don't mean like I was hearing voices or I was like having like a daydream or anything. This was, again, like words and language. It's almost impossible to describe this, okay? So, yeah, so like language can't really describe exactly what the fuck this was, okay? But the closest I can get to is that there was another consciousness. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't a daydream. It was kind of somewhere in between that, where information from somewhere else was entering my stream of consciousness. That's the closest I can get to in like prosaic terms, okay? And the information in the message was very clear too. That's the weird thing, okay? Like this felt like, and it very well could have been my own subconscious, but it felt like it wasn't, okay? So I find that very interesting. What it was saying was a lot of like, you're gonna be okay, like we know who you are. That was a big one. Like this sense of familiarity kind of freaked me the fuck out, honestly, at the time. And also this, and again, these were like impressions, but the message was very acute and clear at the same time, which I know is kind of contradictory and confusing, but there was also this sense of like, this has happened to you before, okay? Like that was another thing that came through very clear for me. And it's like, at this point, like I'm lying in my tent, experiencing this sort of telepathic metempsychosis, whatever you want to call it, like experience that felt very, psychedelic and fucking weird. And I'm just like lying in my tent, like in on my belly, kind of frozen, like what the fuck is going on? Like I have no reference point for this type of experience yet. So I'm at this point where I'm having these waves of impressions coming over me. I'm lying in my tent. I'm staring off into the trees. Like, again, the silence is still persistent, okay? Again, no animals, no birds, no insects. There's a stream nearby, which I can vaguely hear. That's really the only, like, ambient noise at this point. And I see this light behind a tree, or at least, like, on the perimeter of this tree, about, like, 50 feet away, probably, okay? So it's within distance that I can make out small details. And it's this it's like small, I would say it's about the size of a quarter, this whitish blue, like blinking light. It looks metallic almost, okay? And it flashes on for a second, and then it sort of like hovers around and like fucking, I don't even know what to call the movement it does, but like this figure eight motion, and then it blinks off. So this is within like a second, and then it does the same thing on the other side of the tree. Like it blinks on, does this weird like wavy motion, and then blinks off. And at this point, I'm like, okay, what the fuck is happening to me? Okay, so again, like I'm completely lucid, completely aware of what's going on, and I'm starting to think like, am I having some kind of mental episode? Like this would be the first time for me, I think that's important to say. I don't have any history of mental illness, nor does my family. But I at the time, I'm like, what other fucking explanation is there for this? Other than some kind of weird, like, brain thing? I don't know. Like, literally, I do not have any fucking clue what the fuck is going on. Again, like, I'd never, like, researched this shit before. So I had no reference point. I think some time passes, probably about, like, 10 minutes. And I'm just, like, in shock, basically. Like, I'm still thinking, like, what the fuck was that light? I really think that it was something it was not an animal. It was not a bug. It was something else. And again, like I don't have any other way of explaining why I think that other than that's just what I thought at the time. So this was around, I'm guessing 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's broad daylight, like full on, visibility, yeah. Okay, so this entire experience takes place effectively on my belly in a tarp in the middle of nowhere, okay? So it's at this point, after I've seen the light, this weird little wobbly orb-looking thing behind this tree 50 feet away from me, I hear this noise. And it is the weirdest thing that I've ever heard or probably ever will hear in my entire life. It's incredibly loud, incredibly piercing, like I felt like it reverberated through my entire body. And it sounded like a fucking monkey, okay? Like my first thought literally was, is there a gibbon out here with me? Or like an escaped like an escaped primate from the zoo, like 100, however many miles away from here, that I passed by on the way here. That was my first thought. Like, there's a monkey out here with me, and it sounded like when you walk into the zoo for the first time and you hear like the howler monkeys and the gibbons going crazy, like this whoop, like a whoop, like a. That's the only way I can describe it. So again, like when I got back, I found out that other people have heard this thing before and they've actually recorded it. So there's this one famous recording that was created in the 70s in California by this guy named Ron Moorhead called the Sierra Sounds. And if you listen to that, that is exactly what it sounded like 100% accurate.
You trying to talk to this?
When I say that to people, oftentimes like they'll be like, "Well, couldn't it have been just a recording someone was playing?" It's like, no, there's like this is the problem with like objective experience, and the reason why I'm so insistent on like telling people about this is because like I, as the person who experienced it, there's no real way for me to explain how loud and how strange this sounded in person, but I am insistent that whatever made this noise was not human. I am like, and obviously it could have been, like there's a small chance that it could have been, but so I hear this noise. I'm completely paralyzed with fear. Another thing that I can't describe with words is this paralysis, this complete horror that overtook me, that my entire nervous system just shut down. There's something called like, I forget the technical term, but like whenever you experience something so shocking, like your nervous system sometimes just shuts down. And I think that's what happened to me. Like I couldn't move. I was still thinking, like still completely lucid, but I couldn't move a muscle. It just completely frozen. The even weirder thing that happened besides the noise was that half a second after I hear it, it starts to pour rain, like torrentially. And I don't know if there's any connection there, but I do find it important to mention because that is just a very, very weird coincidence. I don't know what to make of it, but that was just the sequence of events that happened. So I'm paralyzed with fear, completely unable to move, just thinking to myself, what the fuck is happening? Like, again, like this is all, you gotta remember, like this is all happening within the span of a couple hours, like this intro to whatever the fuck is gonna happen next. As it's raining, there's some time that passes and I'm just left to stew with my thoughts of like, am I going crazy? Am I hearing things? Am I like, again, I'm just asking myself, like, what is going on? What is happening to me? I'm trying to think, like probably 20 minutes after I hear the whooping, I start hearing footsteps. And it's funny thinking back that there was almost a sense of relief that came with that, which I know sounds weird, but again, like my rational brain was trying to convince myself that, oh, it's just a park ranger coming to tell you to leave. And like, for some reason, I thought that would be my way out or something. Like, I don't know. Like, that was my first thought of like, oh, it's a human that's like walking towards me and telling me to leave. Even though, again, like there was nobody in the parking lot, nobody around me, as far as I could tell. Like there definitely could have been potentially, but I don't think there was. This was a Thursday in the middle of quarantine when technically that campground was supposed to be closed, and technically I guess I was trespassing, but I don't really know. I don't really care. But yeah, so these footsteps start to approach me from like the right side, and again, I am in the middle of nowhere, off the trail, in the fucking backwoods of North Carolina, like in a place that I've never heard of until yesterday. And as these footsteps are approaching, I start to think like, wait a minute, whatever is making that sounds really big. Okay, like these were not, and this is kind of where I had this realization that what was happening to me was, I don't even know, man. Like, I sort of had this click happen where I sort of just accepted it as either I'm about to die, I'm about to get ripped apart by some kind of giant primate. And the other weird thing is that I didn't even think about Bigfoot. You know, obviously everybody knows what Bigfoot is. It's like part of our culture, you know. But that wasn't a thought that entered my mind until way after. So as these footsteps are approaching me, I have this realization that whatever is making them are probably larger than a human. And again, like I can't really mime this out for you, but whatever was making those footsteps also appeared to be trying to sneak up on me too. Like the cadence and the rhythm of the psh, psh, psh was like slower than normal. It gave the impression that, again, like there was some kind of stealthy maneuver going on. So it was only one thing making the noise. Later on there were multiple things making footsteps, but initially there was only one figure, but I'm pretty certain it was bipedal. Okay, like I've spent a lot of time in the woods as a child. I know what deer sound like. I know what boar sound like. I know what raccoons and other fauna like sound like. But this one initially, again, like I said, I perceived as human, and I was hoping at the time like this would be like a park ranger coming to kick me out, so I could finally just like have a reason to leave, or like something to kick me out of this panic or paralysis that I was in. And eventually these footsteps stop, and they stop about, again, 50 feet away. I find that interesting because that was kind of the perimeter of like the light initially as well. Again, these are all speculative measurements. Like obviously I didn't see what was making this noise, but whatever was interacting with me seemed to have some kind of perimeter, some kind of barrier, or again, I don't know, but I think you know what I mean. But anyway, so these footsteps stop. I'm still having this panic attack essentially, like, but I was in like a hyper-acute state of fight or flight, I guess is the clearest way I can say it. But I couldn't move, too. So it's not like I was ready to fight this thing. I was fucked, essentially. And this kind of ties in with this whole. There was this really weird period where I am kind of acknowledging that I am going to die, and that I fucked up, and yeah, that was not fun. And I'm not like having a severe emotional reaction necessarily. I'm more of, yeah, I'm accepting it, which I know seems like a weird thing to do at the time, but I didn't have any options. Like I didn't have anything to protect myself necessarily. Like I had my knife with me, but that's not going to do anything. But yeah, the point is that I'm having this weird, and I hesitate to use the word spiritual or metaphysical, but that's kind of what it felt like, you know, this weird internal acceptance of my own death. And it's around this time where the footsteps stop. It's still pouring rain. I'm still lying on my belly in my tent in the middle of nowhere, a lot of time passes, maybe like an hour or two, and it's like I'm thinking to myself, like, Jesus fucking Christ, like it's finally over. Like, thank God I have not heard that creature again. And okay, so here's another weird thing. Like, as soon as I think that, as soon as I have the thought of, thank God I never heard that creature again, I hear the whooping, like, instantly. Half a second later, the whoop, like, and it's closer. It's up on the hill, like next to me. Probably like 300 feet away. And, you know, like, again, there's all this telepathic phenomena, or whatever you want to call it, happening. And, you know, I have to think that whatever made that noise could tell what I was thinking, maybe. I don't know. I just have to... There's definitely a pattern there, okay? Obviously, there's no proof or whatever. It's not really helpful to speculate, but that seems to be what happened for me, for my own experience. So, again, like, as soon as I hear that noise again, it's like, oh, I freeze up, can't move. I'm back to where I was at 2 hours ago, just completely fucking terrified. A little, like, again, like, I had this brief moment of acceptance of just like, I'm just fucked. You know, this is just what happens when a predator comes across something that's like part of the food chain for them, I guess. Like, you know, I don't think a deer can't do, or a gazelle can't do anything about a lion eating it. It kind of just has to accept it, I guess. But that's kind of where I was at. Whatever was making this noise was so much bigger than me, and you know, could fucking read my mind, apparently. So I hear this whoop again. The footsteps start again, and they start in a different place too. So they start on like the other side of me. And again, it's like there's this circling that's happening, and it's like this slow pace of something I think is bipedal. You know, I don't know, but that was what I thought of at the time. But something big and bipedal is slowly walking around me in a perimeter. And I'm just, again, like there's not a whole lot of... there's not a whole lot I can do about it. I'm just stuck in my shelter, left with my own thoughts, with this giant predator, or at the time I thought was a predator, circling me. At some point, the footsteps stop. Again, a couple hours pass. It's starting to get dark out. Eventually, it gets to... eventually, the rain stops as well. It sort of turns into like a light drizzle. And when it gets dark out there, the canopy during the summertime is so thick, it gets fucking dark. Like, I could not see the hand in front of my face, like that level of dark. And it's at this point, like, again, there's this whole weird sequence of events that seem to coincide with, like, my surroundings, where as soon as it got to that level of darkness, I started to have those impressions come over me again. And what they were saying this time was, in essence, this is a test. You need to stay here tonight with us, and then you can go home. And like, again, these were not words. This was not language being transmitted to me. This was information that I was able to translate. Like, I'm so fully aware of what they are saying, but at the same time, it's not through the usual channels of communication, you know? So, like, again, it's like the psychedelic experience. Like, there's no way of translating that with language, unfortunately. All I can say is that I received a message from something, and whether that's my subconscious, whether that's a fucking Bigfoot, I don't know. But yeah, so in essence, the message was, this is a trial of some kind. This is a test of some kind. It's like, what the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know. I don't have any reference point for any of this shit. So at this point, I'm like, okay, all right, fine. Just fucking leave me alone, please. Like, this is also the point where I started to try and like speak back to it, like through my own thoughts. Because again, I had that scenario where they whooped right after I had that thought of, thank God I never heard that whoop again. So I had time to kind of think about this, So I start to think back, like something like, I'm so sorry, like, please leave me alone, like, I didn't mean to come here, or like, I didn't mean to intrude, or something like please don't kill me, is what I was effectively trying to communicate. And whatever these things were, they started to walk around me again. And at this point, I was hearing multiple instances of footsteps, or multiple points of things moving around me. And again, they all kept like an equidistant perimeter around me, which I find very weird. It was, again, probably around like 50 feet, where I could hear footsteps like circling me. And it's at this point where I was also in the pitch black. My vision was starting to sort of, I don't even know how to describe it, but like there were like these, I don't know if it was because of the sensory deprivation or it was because of whatever these things were. I started to have these like weird vision artifacts entering my field of vision. I don't know, but it looked like a shimmery spider web was being pulled away from my field of view, and then it sort of just like wispy, like sort of floated away. And like, I don't know what the fuck that was. But I think it's kind of important to mention, because it was, again, so acute and so weird that maybe someone else has experienced that. But anyway, so I'm having these like impressions wash over me again. I'm seeing these weird like patterns in my field of view. I think a couple hours, maybe not a couple hours, but like an hour passes. It's still pitch black. It's still in the middle of nowhere, still in my belly, still in the tent. And whatever these things were, they stopped at the point of where my head was at and the point where my foot was at. So they were equidistant on either side of me. And I should mention that the A-frame shelter that I constructed has both sides completely open. Okay, so it's like a triangular prism shape. So there's this big section on both sides of both my feet and my head that are completely open to the woods, but pitch black, so I can't see shit. And these two entities stop at those points, my feet and my head, and they start to talk. And they start to talk in a jabbering, like literally a fucking caveman speak. It's like I can't even mimic it. Like, I don't even want to try, because it was so fucking like horrifying. Like, there was like that. It's not as if like I was still kind of in denial about the fact that this was happening, but when they started to talk, that was when it kind of became a little bit more real, if that makes sense. Not that it was ever not fully fucking real before, but like these things were fucking talking to me, like auditorily, like not telepathically this time, but they were, oh man, it's like, we mentioned the Sierra sounds. There are parts of that audio that sound similar to what I was hearing, like the jabbery thing, but it wasn't quite like that.
Right there, I just seen movement right through there.
When I got back and I listened to that for the first time, I fucking freaked out, because I was like, oh my God, like, this is a real thing. Like, or at least like, there have been other instances of this happening to people, but the words that I would use to describe it would be like jabbering caveman, and then like they would start to mumble. And then like I could tell that they were trying to keep their voice low too. Like I don't think they were trying to talk to me, or like, who knows what the fuck they were doing, but my impression at the time was like they were talking over me to themselves, okay? Again, like, it's been 3 years, almost 3 years, it's been 2.5 really, but I had very bad PTSD from this. This was not fun for me. And I think like what's also difficult with me telling the story is like, oh, you saw Bigfoot? It's like, yeah, I fucking did. And it fucking fucked me up for a long time. Like, I couldn't sleep at night for months. I literally had to stay up until 5 a.m. until it got light out for me to fall asleep. And that fucked with me so bad. But yeah, so as it's raining, there's some time that passes and I'm just left to stew with my thoughts of like, am I going crazy? Am I hearing things? Am I like, again, I'm just asking myself, like, what is going on? What is happening to me? As these two things were jabbering over me, I don't know how this happened. I don't remember anything past this point, but I lost consciousness. That's the last thing I remember. It's just these two things speaking over me. I don't know how I fell asleep. I don't know what happened after that, but that's, thinking back, that's something that, it's not concerning to me, but it's something that's definitely freaks me out a little bit thinking about it. Because there is a period of time where I don't know what happened. So yeah, so I wake up at 6 a.m, probably. It's just starting to get light out. I'm waiting in my tent for a little bit just so that the light levels are up enough that I can effectively and safely remove myself from this area, because there are a lot of rocks and roots that I don't want to trip on. I want to see where I'm running away from. And I start to hear these and see these pebbles hit the side of my tent. And it's like just these whaps, like, psh, psh. And it's like, I don't think these were acorns. I don't think these were like anything else other than somebody or something throwing stones at me. Like either to wake me up, to tell me to leave, or just to fuck with me. I don't know. But it happened like 3 or 4 times where I'm just like, there's this little whap and I look over to the side of my tent and I'm thinking like, wait, what the fuck? Did somebody just throw a rock at my tent? And it happens again. And it's like, oh shit. Like I saw that. Like I see the little indentation on the tarp. And it's like very clearly it had enough force behind it that I definitely was not falling from anywhere. It's definitely thrown. Okay, so it gets light enough out. It's probably around 6:30 in the morning. I grab my shit and just effectively sprint all the way back to my car. As I'm running back, I'm noticing like, and this could definitely be because of my heightened like awareness at the time. Like, I don't know. I think that's definitely possible. But I was hearing trees like breaking and crashing behind me as I'm running back down the trail. It's bizarre. I also noticed that not immediately after I woke up, but pretty soon after, I'd say probably 15 minutes after I woke up, as I'm waiting for it to get lighter for me to like find my way back, I heard something that sounded like an explosion inside of a tree, like literally. And this definitely, again, could have been my awareness being distorted by the adrenaline, perceiving this as something more intense than it actually was. But it literally did sound like someone had placed like a explosive or like a pressurized container inside of a tree and detonated it. It was bizarre. I drive out, I get home, I pass out in my bed. It's probably, 9 a.m. I sleep for, I don't know. I fall asleep instantly. I'm so exhausted. My heart had been racing for such an extended period of time. It hurts. Like my chest like hurt really bad. And I have this dream. And it's not really like a lucid dream or like a waking dream, but it was kind of like that. Very weird, but still a dream, I should say. Where I see this face, and it's like made of smoke, and it's like gray, and it's like coming towards me. And as it comes towards me, I can see like the features. It's like becoming more clear, like the details are becoming more apparent, and it looks like an Egyptian pharaoh almost. But it looks like a fucking alien, like a gray alien, but not like the classic gray where it's kind of formless. It's like very, very clear shapes. This one was more obtuse and like more human looking, but it still had like the big eyes and like the pale skin and like it was like made of smoke for some reason. But it came towards me, and then I wake up as soon as it becomes like right in front of me. And as I'm waking up, I start to realize, like, or not realize, but just sort of come to terms with the fact that, yeah, what happened, and I don't know where to go from there. So after waking up, I start doing research because I want to find out what the fuck happened to me, obviously. And I get on my computer, I come upstairs, I'm in the living room, and I'm like scrolling through. I'm basically in a state of denial still at this point. I am like scrolling through like deer sounds, I'm scrolling through boar sounds, like mountain lion sounds, anything that could like have some sort of prosaic explanation for what I was hearing. So that I could just say to myself, like, you were just having a panic attack, or like some fucking weird psychotic episode or something. And then after scrolling through everything that I could possibly think of that could live in Uwharrie, I kind of arrived at the conclusion that, or not the conclusion, but I arrived at the thought of like, okay, so it sounded like a monkey. What sounds like a monkey in the woods of North Carolina? And I look up like, is Uwharrie known for Bigfoot sightings? And turns out, yes, they fucking are. And I'm getting goosebumps right now because I remember this point like so acutely too. Like I have this moment of realization. It's like, wait, Bigfoot's fucking real? Like what? That can't be possible. That's not possible. Like no, thank you. Like Bigfoot's not real. Like no. Yeah, and I just have these couple moments of just like staring at my screen of like, Uwharrie's known for Bigfoot sightings? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the fuck? And I start like looking up Bigfoot shit, which that's its whole own fucked up thing. Like I kind of hate Bigfoot people, honestly, or some Bigfoot people. There are some people that look at this shit in a very good way, and then there's some people that look at Bigfoot in a incredibly stupid way. But anyway, so I start looking up like I think I Google like most credible Bigfoot audio or something like that, and I find the Sierra sounds and I play it, and it is a 100% match for what I heard. Like the whooping, at least, like the whoop. It's exactly what I heard. Like so close to it. Obviously there would be differences based on like whether, it's probably a different animal or whatever, or a different individual or whatever. But like the cadence is accurate, the tone, it just sounds the same. Yeah, and I play that for my roommate, and he's like, okay, like, are you okay? And I tell him what happens, and he's thankfully he was he knows me, and he knows that I don't make shit up like this. I think I told him because I knew like coming back, I knew like people are not going to believe me. This is so out of the realm of anything that I've ever experienced that like I know that nobody's going to fucking believe me. But it's it still happened. It still affected me very severely, and I need some way of processing it. So I ended up telling him. I think he came home around like probably noonish, I'm thinking. I'm in the living room like scrolling through Bigfoot sounds or whatever, and I'm like visibly shaken. Like I don't know what he told you when you guys talked, but yeah, I mean he could tell like something happened to me for sure. And I think I tell him like, hey man, something really weird happened to me last night, because I told him like I was gonna be out there for a couple days, or I was planning on staying out there for like a day or two, so he was not expecting me to be home right away. And somehow Bigfoot is broached to him. I don't exactly know, I don't remember how, or like the sequence of events after that, but I remember that night I play him the Sierra sounds, and he's like, okay man, like whatever you say, like I guess I believe you, but like that's really fucking weird. And yeah, I mean some time passes, and like I'm I can't sleep, I'm fucked up by it. Like like I said, my chest has been hurting for days, or my chest hurt for days afterwards because my heart had been racing for so long. My adrenals have been completely shot. And yeah, I mean, he could tell that there's a very clear event that happened, you know. Something fucked me up really bad. So another weird thing that would start to happen after I got back was owls would start to show up in my front yard a lot. Like there's this big oak tree, like 50 feet away from my front window. Basically, I live near the woods, kind of. But yeah, they would just like swoop in and perch on this branch that was like right in front of my window, and they would hoot like super loud. They would like swoop in at night and then like hang out and then hoot at me, and then I'd go outside and look up at them, and there was this hint of like something weird is happening here, but there was, you know, literally an owl there, and I don't think an owl is anything weird necessarily, but it would just happen so frequently and also at very specific times as well. Like, I don't think that owls were in my neighborhood before this. That's the weird thing. Like, I'm sure they were, but I just never noticed it until after this happened. So there's this period of time where I was kind of upset with people for not taking this seriously, which I think is, if you understand that I actually went through this and that this actually happened, I think you can understand that this is reasonable for me, at least. Like maybe not reasonable for someone else, the person that I'm telling the story to, but for me personally, like I was very insistent that people understand that this was not a dream, this was not a hallucination, this was a material event, and that I'm not fucking making this up, and that other people have seen and heard and experienced things like this in not only the same woods, but the exact same fucking campground too. There were certain times where I would tell people, or they would hear about it from Julian or someone else that had heard me tell it, where it would come up in conversation. I'd be like, yeah, it fucking happened. And I would tell them what happened, and they would be like, fuck you. Like, no, Bigfoot's not real. And I'm like, I know it's absurd. I know it's kind of goofy and stupid, but like, I think it's real. I don't know what else to tell you, man. And the unfortunate thing is, like, some people would get like angry at that, which I kind of don't understand. Like, perhaps it's like a fear thing, like accepting that Bigfoot is real is kind of scary. But I think it's also like there's this thing where people don't want to have their perception of reality shifted in any way, which I think is unfortunate. But I've experienced that a lot, honestly, when telling this. So I think a couple months pass, and I think just the curiosity got the better of me. So we decided to go back. And that was not without fear in my mind. I was still terrified. But I thought it would be helpful for Julian and our friend Steven to experience this with me. And I thought that going back with other people would definitely abate the fear response that if they did show up, which they did, would happen. So, and it turned out to be like a very strangely pleasant experience, strangely enough. But yeah, that was mostly the main reason for me wanting to go back. I was just very too curious to let this go. I kind of needed to close that loop.
Thank you, Alex, for telling us that story. Folks, there have only been a few times this has happened, but occasionally while doing an interview, the story will be so strange that my head actually starts to hurt as I'm listening to it. It almost feels like my brain's like shutting down to protect itself from something that's just so out there that I could hardly even comprehend it. And that was happening when I talked to this guy. I actually had to interview him twice about this same story because it was so much to take in. And what you were just listening to was the second interview that I did with him. In that first interview, There were so many times I stopped and politely asked this guy if he's certain that he wasn't experiencing a psychotic break, and if he had any history with mental illness. And he insists this is not the case, and his friends have confirmed this for me as well. In fact, he's seen psychiatrists only after going through this specific experience because it was so traumatizing for him. And they've said that nothing's wrong with him. But he's also pointed out how difficult it is going and seeking mental health treatment for something like this when you know that nobody's going to believe you. This is such an unusual story, but I see a lot of parallels between what happened to Alex and certain things that have happened to other people I've interviewed. And it really starts to open up a lot of questions and possibilities about what Bigfoot may or may not be, if it exists at all. Next week, in part 2, Alex goes back into the woods. I talked to his roommate Julian, who was there when he got home, and went back out with him in the woods a second time to see for himself. This has been episode 33, the Uhwarries Part 1, and you've been listening to Otherworld. Otherworld is executive produced and hosted by myself, Jack Wagner. The theme song is by Cobra Man. The soundtrack of this episode is by North Americans. The Sierra Sounds was recorded by Ron Moorhead and Al Berry. Editing and engineering by Theo Schaefer. The artwork for our show is by Cul-de-sac Studios. This is an independent show, so please support us by subscribing, telling your friends, and leaving a 5-star review. You can also support the show and hear bonus episodes, a lot of bonus episodes, in fact, by signing up for our Patreon at patreon.com/otherworld. We do at least 2 episodes every month if you want to hear more. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at OtherworldPod on Instagram and Twitter. Also, if you or somebody you know has experienced something paranormal, supernatural, or unexplained, you could send us that story at stories@otherworldpod.com.